So wait for a few people to hop on, but today I am joined by my beautiful and lovely wife and business partner, Bree Logue. Thank you so much for hopping on with me today, love.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I know we've been getting a lot of questions about buyers, so start diving into it.
Yeah, so I do the disposition side of our wholesaling business for the most part.
Yeah, that's been great. I really love working with you. It's been awesome. So yeah, I figured pretty much today we'll go over, what it looks like after we get a deal, when do we start finding a buyer. I know there's a lot of people out there who tell people they should find a buyer beforehand, or they should, really worry about finding a buyer before you even start looking for deals. And I don't think that's true. Yeah, I think it's a huge waste of time. It stops a lot of people from taking action. But I think really once you have a good deal, not that finding buyers is the easy part, but unless you have a good deal, there's really no point to start finding a buyer. But yeah, it's been a lot of roadblocks for us, and obstacles learning along the way, and you're kind of streamlining our systems and processes, and really getting them down. And obviously, we're still always learning and growing. But yeah, it's been super helpful having you on the team and having you help me with it.
Yeah, it's been great. I love it. It's so much fun. I love connecting with other people, and I think connecting with buyers is, they're entrepreneurs too.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. So let's break it down. We'll start a couple people on, and hey, thanks everybody for hopping on. Make sure to drop a comment. Let us know who's watching and who's there. And if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments. We'll make sure to answer them for you guys. But again, today, we're talking about how to start finding buyers for your wholesale deals. Again, I'm here with Bree, and we're gonna go over the steps we use in our business. So say we have a deal. I send you a deal. What's the very first step that you take and when you start the buyer's process?
Of course. So after you send me the deal, you'll change it to Dispo in our CRM. And then the first thing I do before I start anything is I make sure the numbers are right, which usually run the numbers anyways, but that's always the first thing I check, just to make sure the comps are super, relevant. They're within the last 3 months, preferably the last month if we can find a really good comp. So I find the comps because I want to put those on our flyer, and then I build the flyer out. So really the first step.
Yeah,
So building
sure.
the flyer. Yeah, it's I do it on Canva. It's super quick. Can I share my screen so I can show people what the flyers look like?
Yeah, let me go ahead and remember how to do this real quick.
I can share it, so it should be fine.
Do you have a button to do it? Yeah.
I do. Hold on. Let me
What's up, Isaac? Thanks for hopping on, bro. Appreciate you.
Let me pull
Looking
it up
forward
so
to
I can show
linking up
you
with
guys.
you and what's it, like a month and a half now?
Nice. I'm excited to have you guys there. It'll be fun.
And I'm super hyped for the event. It's all really starting to come together, and I haven't really talked about it too much yet, but yeah, we just got an event, and we got an awesome venue space in San Antonio in the Pearl. It's going to be at Jazz Texas, which is like the Speakeasy Jazz Club, and it's got a stage and everything we need. And we have some really awesome speakers coming. So we're going to be doing panels and really just focus on how to start wholesaling and how to get your first deal, or if you got your first deal, really how to start getting deals consistently, and really all the struggles and obstacles we've learned, and all our friends and other business owners we know have learned along the way.
For sure. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a great time. So here's the.
Can you guys
see my screen now?
Now you can. Yeah.
No, I can. Okay, cool. So I make everything right on Canva. So I have a template here. I can show you guys. So it makes it super easy. I just copy this template every time and just change all the things. So out of the best picture I have here, I have a description of exactly what the thing is. If it's a duplex or if it's a single family, if you make a great Airbnb, I put as much as I can here to kind of get people to look right away. All the stats, how much the rehab's going to cost, if there's any lease back or anything like that. Like I want it all on the front page. And then as we all know, pictures are so important. So we have somebody go out and take pictures right away. And then, we'll hire somebody to go out and take pictures usually because we don't do too many wholesales in San Antonio. We do lots.
Do you have one that like shows what like an old one that we've done just so people can see kind of what it looks like filled out?
Oh, yeah, of course. Can you still see my screen here?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, so just pick one of a random one.
We'll pick this one. We just did the Valrico one.
Nice. So we already moved this one, so don't mind you guys seeing all the info.
Right. So you move this one. So estimated rehab. This one.
Can you guys see it on your side? If you can drop a comment. I don't really know how the screen share looks for you guys, but
can you see it like that?
Oh yeah, that looks better for me at least.
Better. Okay, cool. So for here, I see the description. We put all the things here. Estimated rehab costs. So we didn't have anything special going on with this one.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty
you
much
know, if we did,
retail ready. Yeah, it's really
yeah,
need
it was
just light
retail
touch
ready.
up and paint.
Yeah, so if there was like heavy rehab and I knew like I needed a new roof or I knew that it needed HVAC or something, I want to be really upfront here and I just put everything on the flyer so that way I don't get as many questions back to you. So it's like pretty straightforward and it's a lot easier for the buyer. I'll also put HOAs and stuff right on here too because that's something people always ask about. And then we just do pictures for our second, third, fourth. Yeah, we have lots of pictures for this one, but make sure lots of pictures. And then the next one is comps. I always make sure I try to pick some recent comps. Here, so yeah, I always pick 3 comps. I try to pick the 3 that are the closest and they're very similar price points, or what I think the house will sell for after it's rehabbed. And
Yeah, we have
then
other
yeah,
videos on comps and stuff, but yeah, just as your general, yeah, those are comps, those are similar properties. Then we have all our contact info on the bottom.
Yep, then we have all our contact info on the last page.
Yeah. And the reason we do this, I think it really sticks out from what a lot of other people do. A lot of other people just send a huge text block or just very vague info. And it's, it really just helps us stick out because a lot of these people just get a lot of deals. And if I don't know if you're on anybody's buyers list and looking for deals, because we do flips ourselves, so we're on a lot of buyers lists, we JV with people, a lot of them just are shit deals. So a lot of people just try to look real quick and do it. So it's really, we make sure those numbers at the top, you have the big caption, the headline to grab their attention. And then you will also have the numbers right there on the front page. And if they want more info, they can send that.
Exactly, yeah. And I put that in Drive as long with all of the pictures that we have of the property. So that way it's all in one easy place. So I can just send them a link, and if they want to know more information, I have all the stuff there.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And then when you have it in the Drive, we just make the link, you change the settings so anybody who has the link can see it. And then you just send the link out to people. And so and Isaac asked, sorry, we're just gonna read it. You can read it.
Yeah. I said, how do you guys get comps from out of state? So I actually have my real estate license, so I use RPR to run our comps, but PropStream is another great resource.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really, it's just PropStream's usually what I use too. If I'm not using their RPR, I'll log in and use too. And it's pretty similar data. I mean, it's really
they're
not
almost
too far
exactly
off.
the same. I just know RPR better, so that's what I personally use.
Yeah, and the only time we really run into problems if it's like a non-disclosure state like Texas.
Texas, which I have my license in Texas, so it's so funny, but I can only see San Antonio, so it's really hard when we get deals in Dallas. We'll have to send them out to somebody.
Yeah, or we can still look, but it's a little bit more digging. We can still find it on PropStream. Other places we just gotta dive a bit deeper for sure. But other ones are pretty easy. But it's weird because other states too. So we have friends that are realtors in other states, and they just get access to the whole state. But I mean, I guess Texas is huge, right? That'd be nice. Yeah, you have to pay for all the separate MLS ones, and yeah, definitely a huge headache. And then this live, it should be recorded. It'll be recorded in the Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, shoot me a DM. I'll get you in the group. And you'll be able to watch the recording in there. But awesome. So so we do that. So that's the first step. First step, I sent it to her. We already have all their numbers before we made the offer. Then I have the agreement signed, send it to her. We have a status in our CRM and REI bot where she gets a notification saying, hey, this one, it's ready. Our first step's the flyer. So after we make the flyer, what's the next step that we do after that?
So after that, I usually try to see if we have done another deal in that area. So if we've done another deal in my area, it's pretty simple to go through our CRM and find that list that we've already pulled and just retext them and say, hey, I have a deal in this area. Are you guys still looking to buy properties? But if we've never done a deal in that area before, the first thing I do is pull a list off PropStream for people who have bought houses for cash. I usually try to do more than 3 properties in the major city that's closest to the actual so like the one we did in Washington was in Spanaway, but it was closest to, I think, Tacoma was the major city. So instead of doing like people who only buy in Spanaway, I did like people who buy in Tacoma, just because a lot of times it's really, really small buyers who buy only in these small cities. But so I pull comps on PropStream. So we pull comps off PropStream too.
Yeah, so for we do PropStream over batch. I've used both. The one thing I like better about PropStream, and the main reason I made the switch back to PropStream because I had it first, was that when you look for buyers, it's a lot easier because when you're doing LLCs, it's usually a lot of digging. So when we're pulling that list, like she was talking about, we have our VA do that now, but we're actually going. You have to manually search. As far as we know, maybe hopefully there's a better way. Somebody knows, if so, let us know. But we're having our VA manually search, who owns the LLC, and if they have their LLC structured technically the right way that you're supposed to, is like a shell, and have LLCs owning it, it can be super hard to find. But the cool thing about PropStream is there's a little tab button that you can click that says, I think, similar properties or connected properties, something like that. You'll see under the buyer details, and they'll show you all the other ones that LLC owns. And it's weird because when we have a bunch of properties connected to our name, even the ones that are connected, like our personal house is connected, like our primary residence, our house is connected to our personal names. But even the ones I have through different LLCs, they were still able to link that back because I didn't. I had myself set up as the LLC owner because I didn't take the extra steps of making the shell corporation. So it does that extra level of digging for you. So even if you can't find it, or you don't want to do a lot of digging trying to find, hey, who owns this LLC? You can see, hey, this guy, ABC Home Buyers, they own all these houses, but John Lewis actually owns, this other property. But if they're connected, 9 times out of 10, John Lewis is the guy you want to talk to, or he definitely knows the guy you're going to talk to, and he's probably the owner of the LLC. So that's the main reason. I maybe Bash added that, but when I was on there last, they didn't have that feature. But so being able to quickly see that saves us a shitload of time, and it just it's a lot easier because just finding who owns the LLC and actually finding out who you want to contact and skip trace.
So I'll usually try to narrow down the list too. So say when I pull lists of PropStream for buyers, sometimes it can be like, oh, cash buyers in Tacoma, there's 5,000 people that have bought houses for cash. So I'll make sure I go through and narrow down those filters a lot. So I'll put, they have to have bought a house for cash in the past year. And I also usually, if it's like still super broad, I make sure that it is not owner occupied. And I will make sure that they have more than like 3 properties. They bought more than 3 properties last year because I want to narrow down that list because I don't want to waste so much time for a VA to go through, a couple thousand people. So I kind of want to narrow it under 500 people, preferably if we can.
Yeah, for sure. Then we can always expand after if we don't get anyone from there, but
Exactly.
always the more narrow, the better. And a big thing too is the reason you want them to have multiple properties or ideally have done multiple deals is one, they're going to be a good buyer that does a lot of deals. But a lot of those ones doing single ones, they might be from California or somewhere where the values are a lot higher and they sold their house. They had all that cash and equity and they just bought their next house in cash so they wouldn't have payments. And so they're not really a buyer. So like she was saying, that's one of the good reasons it's to make sure they have multiple properties.
Exactly. And then, so after we go through that, I'll do a text blast to all those people introducing myself because we've never talked before. So I'll say, hey, my name is Bree. I'm a wholesaler. I have a property in your area. I see you've bought properties for cash. Are you looking to pick up some more properties? And they'll either respond back yes or no. And if they respond back yes, I say, great, can I get your email? I'll send you the email with all the information. I'll send like a breakdown of pretty much what's in the flyer. And then I'll attach the flyer to that as well with the drive with all the pictures blown up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then I'll follow up with them. It's like, oh, hey, do those numbers work for you? Are you interested in this property? I don't ask if we can schedule. I used to want to be like, oh, should we ask if they want to schedule a showing? But I've kind of stopped doing that because some people just don't even want to see the property. Like, oh yeah, buy properties in that area. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'll put their money down. Let's get the contract out.
Right. Yeah. I always assume the close. So like, hey, cool. It's the next step. Put the money down, and they'll let you know, hey, no, I want to see it, or hey, I have more questions. And like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I just want to again assume the close. Try to get that, and think of it as a sales process. That was a huge mindset shift for me. Was when I first started, the market was super hot and it was super easy to sell. So I just throw it up there and I'd find a buyer. Now that it's cooled down, I'm sure you guys have seen if you're wholesaling, you've been wholesaling for any time, it's more work to find a buyer, definitely than it was about a year or so back. So it's, you got to think of it as a sales process. So instead of just, throwing it out there, think, hey, I'm marketing this property, I'm making a cool flyer, I'm pulling my list, and it's almost like reverse wholesaling. You're doing it backwards because you're finding your buyer's list, and then you're selling the property to them. and then saying, you have to stick out from all these other shit deals that they're getting. So there's a bunch of other deals, they're not just buying anything and everything anymore. So one, you got to do good marketing, have a good banner, have a good messaging in your text and your reach out to get them interested. And then you have to go for the close. Because again, most of these people want to close quickly, and you want to close quickly so you can get on to the next deal.
And I always ask them that too, like, great, how quickly can you close? I'll usually put that in our email too, like, estimated closing date is this day. So I want to make sure they can close on time because, there's nothing worse than like, oh, actually, we can't close for, 3 weeks after the closing date for some reason. And it's like, oh, well, that's not going to work for us. So we have to find
Right.
another buyer.
Yeah, it's definitely. I definitely want to vet them and check them because, have they done wholesale deals before? Because we ran into one recently on a property that was a huge nightmare. We finally got done. So grateful for that. Finally got paid on it yesterday, completely. But yeah, that one we actually JV'd with someone, and it was a nightmare because they had all these buyers. They didn't do it. They presented themselves. The JV partner did, like, hey, they've been in the game for a while. They know what's going on. So we kind of just took them at their word, and that's something we've been burned on a few times JVing with people. Because they talked a big game, didn't really back it up or know what they were doing. And the issue was, they had the first buyer that came out, they never did a wholesale deal before. And this guy was doing an awful job handling them, didn't explain what wholesaling was. They thought they could lose all their earnest money. They thought all these things that just weren't true. So, I mean, if you don't know the answer, don't make it up. Ask title, ask somebody else, that's been wholesaling or been there before. But don't just make up an answer because, he burned that one, wasted a bunch of our time, brought a shitload of sellers to the house at one time. And like, even though we said we thought one person was coming, he did like an open house and brought it was like over 10 people over 2 days, and none of them were serious. None of them wanted to buy it. They all wanted to lowball us. So definitely you could have avoided all of that by actually vetting these buyers, making sure they're cash buyers, making sure if not, they can get access to hard money, making sure they know what the wholesale process is, and if not, educating them on it. And then just treating it like it's another process of the business, and it's a vital part of the business. So just making sure you're making those extra steps and getting those processes dialed in is going to save you a heck of a lot of time and make you a heck of a lot more money.
I think it's a communication thing too, just for JVing with people. I think that is a great opportunity to connect with other people if you're new or struggling to find a buyer. But also even communication with us is another great one too, because you need, like, I know that particular seller, one of her pain points were having people in her house. And we communicated that, and it just didn't, get communicated with him apparently, or he just didn't get what I was saying. But at the same time, like, we want to make sure that the acquisitions people and the dispositions people are talking to, because you want to know, like, oh, this is the buyer's, or this is the seller's pain point. She doesn't really want that many people in her house. So that makes my job. I have to make sure I go through and really vet these people before I send them there.
Right. And that's just like, obviously, there's, things he could have done better, saying, taking extreme ownership of the things we could have done better, and we could have done a better job communicating, of course. And we also could have done a better job vetting the JV partner. Because again, JVing is a great opportunity. One, if you haven't done a deal, because again, you're on a time crunch finding a buyer. That's better to make some money than no money. Rather get 50% than zero. 100% of zero is always less than 50% of whatever. But it's you really just, again, communication, vetting the people, asking the questions, and just making sure everyone's clear and on the same page. So looks like I got another question. I think this one's from Isaac again. So for out-of-state properties, do y'all guys get non-refundable deposit? So for any properties we do, I think we're talking about the same thing, but we have any buyers. Once we find a buyer, we're having them put down a $5,000 to $10,000 on average deposit, depending on how big the deal actually is. So if it's like, for earnest, would put a non-refundable earnest money deposit down with the title company. And we do get that if they don't perform, they don't actually buy it. Now, sometimes worst case scenario, okay, they need an extra day or two. We're not going to take the money from them and try to find another buyer. We're going to do everything we can to still make it work with that buyer. Because ideally we want to work with that buyer. We don't want to chase it and find another buyer, but you really just want to make sure they have some skin in the game. So they're not just sticking you around, and they obviously aren't going to want to lose that money, and it really just keeps them honest.
I love JVing too. I think the issue when we had the first couple times we JV'd is we're like, oh, instead of, we're just not going to do the dispositions process. We're just going to, this person's good at it. We're going to take him at his word.
Yeah.
He can JV with us. And I think that was a really big mistake before I started the dispositions with you, was we're just like, oh, this JV person's going to do it for us. And I think that was hard when we weren't actually, going through and finding buyers too.
Yeah, and I've made that mistake in every aspect of my business. It's really so easy as a business owner to be like, hey, someone's fucking handling this now. I delegated it. Cool. they got this. I'm going to go do what I do and, go bring more money into the business or do whatever it is you're good at go get more deals or whatever it is that you're best at doing. But you can't do that, especially when you just start working with someone, you don't know them. You need to trust but verify. So you need to make sure they are actually doing what they say they're doing. You need to make sure you are staying on top of them. And then maybe after you've done a few deals and this person they're working for your company and they've got it down, like kind of like with us working together, I've kind of, still now I've been burned by other people and, with other employees and business owners and partners by just thinking people have it and don't have it. Like even if I just said, hey, you got this, obviously, we're married and, you can communicate with me. No, I don't know what to do, but most people won't either because of ego or something else. And, they won't communicate that with you. So really just communication is important and just making sure that you're not taking your eye off of the ball and that you still know and what's going on and making sure the deal's getting done and not just hoping, because hoping is never a good strategy to get the deal done. Hey, what's up, Alan? Bro, thanks for hopping on, man.
All right, so the next step, I think, so we pull prop streams, we prop stream list and reach out to buyers through text and email. The next step for me is to go on Facebook groups for the nearest city and literally, so say Tacoma, I'll type in Tacoma real estate investors in Facebook and I'll go through and find all of the Facebook groups that I think the investors are in. And I will usually, so once I get accepted, I will comment on all those posts for a day. And then the next day I'll post saying, hey, I have a deal. Is anybody interested in here? But I'll also go through all the comments and we'll just give away their emails on there, which is blows my mind because I'm just like, I get too many spam emails. So
or they just put their hand up too and say, hey, I'm buying there. That's how we found our last one. Is somebody else's post. They said, oh, I buy in that city. I'm like, oh shit, I have a deal there. And I DM the guy privately. You can DM them or send them an email. And if they already have their email, she said, just grab their email and put it in your buyer's list.
Yeah, just grab the email. I mean, they're looking for they're looking for deals. So definitely just send them the email with the deal. But yeah, just pull the emails. I think somebody once said you can you can search the @gmail.com in the group and they'll just pull all the emails from comments too, which is nice.
I'm trying to remember if that worked for me or not when I did that. So
it didn't work for me, but somebody said it worked for them, and I don't know why it doesn't work for me, but that'd be really cool.
People say lots of shit. Yeah, I don't know.
If it works for you, great. I'd love to figure out how you got it to work.
Right. But yeah, let us know because I can't figure it out. But Facebook's weird. It changes shit all the time too. So
it does, yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, another thing for you guys, you forgot to mention. Like she was saying, so we don't put that whole flyer. We don't just blast that everywhere. We're doing a more kind of like a headline, attention grabbing marketing type post of like, hey, are you looking for discounted properties? Are you looking for great deals on discounted off market properties in San Antonio? If so, drop your email below or let me know. We have deals that we're coming across. So it's more vague. It's not specific. We're just kind of doing, and also that's not the exact verbiage. If you guys want, I'm going to put a copy of our flyer. I'm going to put a copy of all our materials and we'll break down our whole process that we're talking about today. And I'm going to post that. I'm only going to post that in the Facebook group. So I'm sure a lot of you guys probably already in the real estate wholesaling syndicate, but if not, let me know, shoot me a DM. I'll get you in the group and we have a bunch of files and courses in there and you guys will be able to use all the same marketing materials, everything we use for finding a buyer and all the other stuff we have in there.
Cool. Yeah, I can actually share the template that we use for our flyer too. So you guys can just add that to your Canva account and just kind of change the colors and change the logos.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, Lori, just send me a DM, man. Just shoot me a DM if you're not in the group and I'll get you added in there. Yeah, but yeah, it's probably the easiest way to do it. But awesome, guys. I appreciate you guys. All the questions have been great. We're gonna keep going. Yeah, but I was just gonna say I appreciate you guys watching. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, keep dropping them. Let us know. We'll keep answering as we're going. But you guys have been great today. Sorry. And so, what do we do next?
Oh, you're fine. Sorry. I was like, I haven't done a live for a while. So I was like, I'm having fun. We'll keep going. Strategy. So we do, so far we've covered prop stream pulling lists. We've covered Facebook groups. The third one that really works for us is actually building relationships with the title company that you're using. So they know you're wholesaling the deal and most likely you've already called or you should be calling and vetting them beforehand to make sure they work with wholesalers and there's no penalties on the fees and stuff like that. But a great way is just to ask them. I mean, they want this deal to go through. That's how they're going to get paid. And a lot of times we're like, oh, actually, yeah, let me reach out to somebody who just bought a property that's similar, a couple doors down. I know they said they're looking for more properties and they'll just connect you with a potential buyer.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a great thing. I just did a whole YouTube video on that. I dropped yesterday going over that because I don't hear anyone talk about that. So really, I broke down the process. I thought, hey, who has buyers and what are the best type of buyers? So the best type of buyers are one, people that are either doing lots of deals, or two, they're landlords because they can pay more. They can pay higher ARVs because they're not worried too much about making all their money on the fix and flip. And they don't have to be at that 70% or whatever their numbers are, because they're making money long term by renting it out, and it's always going to pay off. They get all the other bonuses like depreciation and appreciation and everything else that comes with actually owning and holding properties. So those are the people that you ideally want. That's an ideal. That's a dream buyer. And so really, any kind of marketing, when you come down to marketing, it's finding who do I want, where do they hang out, who else knows them, how can I get in front of them. And when you start to ask yourself those questions and write them down, you're going to come up with some creative ideas. And if you guys have any other creative ideas, definitely let us know. But the one I come up with was, hey, title companies. I bought in a few properties now. I've done a few fix and flips. Who do I use every time? I have to use a title company. Like, oh, so title companies, they know who the buyers are. And if you already have a relationship with them, great. You can reach out to them. They'll give you the buyers. And the reason they'll give you the buyers is because they want those buyers to do more deals because they're going to get paid by being the title company on that deal. So, and it's symbiotic, it's beneficial for both. And the other one that we use is hard money lenders, because a lot of people use hard money lenders. They don't want to use all their own cash to get the deal. So they'll use a hard money lender, and hard money lenders, they're going to know who the buyers are too.
Right, they work with them. And you just want to build relationships with these people, even like before you have buyers, or before you have a deal. It's totally okay to actually try to build these relationships beforehand.
100%.
I just wouldn't reach out to people, maybe like you said, the hard money people, that's fine. Totally, they love networking and stuff like that too. But we don't really do too much cold outreach before we actually get the deal in hand for the actual
No, we don't
buyers.
do
So
any. Yeah, we don't do any
yeah, we
unless
don't do
it's
any.
like
Yeah.
unless it's informal. Like, hey, you're at a networking event, or somebody. If you know someone, and you're just informally. But I wouldn't like call them saying you have a deal or something, or asking for their buyers before you have it. It's putting the cart before the horse.
Right. For sure. I think that's really those three
Well, that's
strategies
it. So
really
that's for
work well
finding
for
the
us.
buyer. Yeah, that's what works great
Yeah.
for us. Yeah, doing that, pulling the list. You can also get lists from the county. There's a bunch of other ways. But again, asking yourself, where are the buyers hanging out? Who are the buyers? How can I reach them? Who's buying properties? But yeah, so after we have that, now we kind of mentioned a bit earlier within our fundable thing, but what do we do next? So we found the buyer. This buyer is good. We found our buyer. We have a few people reach out to you, say, hey, I'm interested. What would the next step be?
If they want to say they're interested, so we ask
Yeah.
them what's their final price. Like, are you
Mhm.
good to? What do you mean? Sorry.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, so we're
Yeah.
basically going over
Okay.
the numbers. We're telling them again, like we said, this is the number we're at. You gotta, whoever submits the 5K or the 10K to earn this money down to
Right.
title gets it done. So we want to make sure they're sending that money to title so they have skin in the game. And then that's when the transaction coordinator job happens. So if they actually are interested, a lot of people say they are and don't actually send the money. So in our contract, which again, if you guys want to use my contract, that's all in the Facebook group, the Real Estate Wholesaling Syndicate. You guys can get that for free in there. But that is, in there it says they have to put that money down within 1 business day after they sign the contract. And if they don't perform, we get that money. So we're still getting our wholesaling fee either way. But obviously, if they don't perform, we're still going to make sure we come through for the seller and we find another buyer.
Right. Well, we're not getting the wholesale fee. We'll get the
We
earnest
get
money,
the
which is
earnest money
usually
fee,
5K.
right? So which,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
usually
we'll get the
around,
earnest money if they
yeah, we
aren't
still get
able to
something,
perform for
yeah.
some reason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think we've ever had that happen
We
either.
haven't,
We've
no.
always, yeah. So we
The
always have
last
people.
guy tried to be a dick. The only time we had an issue was that last deal, which was a fucking nightmare. But
Yeah,
we
it
had
was
a
a nightmare on
buyer.
both sides for
Yeah,
everybody. I feel like
yeah,
it's just the seller was kind of a nightmare and the buyer was a nightmare. So
yeah.
the deal
Crazy
itself was,
people.
yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
all crazy people.
Not all,
But
but
it
in
happens
that
sometimes.
situation, those people were crazy. But yeah, they
Yeah,
got buyer didn't want to he didn't want to release the earnest money to us, and it's like threatening to sue the title company and sue us, the lawyer and shit, and just as a psycho and just trying not to pay us. So that's why again, you want to have the contract and you want to use a clear contract. And luckily our contract saved our fucking ass there, because we went back title and said, hey, I get they're giving me a hard time. I apologize. We actually ended up buying them all breakfast and sending them breakfast as a thank you because they were so great, went above and beyond the whole time. And we wanted to again keep building those relationships, and we're going to keep working with those people. And that was a great tip I actually got from my mentors, Uncle Charles, was to take care of your title people. So we sent them a bunch of like all artisan donuts, and they're super appreciative. But what saved our ass again was having that contract that again is in the group, because it was clear, cut, and dry that this is exactly what happens. If once this is done, this is what happens, and the money is wired to us. So just making sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and that the contracts are signed, because it doesn't matter if people say verbally, it matters what's in the contract. And just make sure you have the right contracts and you're doing everything the right way.
Right. So then we then follow up with title company exactly saying, like, hey, I sent here's the contract that's signed, they have to put earnest money down by this date. Can you please send them the wire instructions and CC me, which they always will CC me so I can see the wire instructions that they're sending them. And then I'll follow up with the buyer and say, hey, here's the instructions. Please make sure you get that in by this day so we can keep everything on track. And then once they wire that earnest money, we're making sure we're talking to the seller too and be like, hey, make sure you get your payoff amount for the house, and we really need to start this process now so we can close on time.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's basically when again, don't drop the ball here. We're not going to go over the whole thing in this call, but that's when the transaction coordinator job starts. So making sure that everything's going smoothly with title, that you're helping title and you're getting everything to the finish line, because again, you can't just drop the ball there and then hope that, it's all going to work out. Because it
Right,
won't.
it's still on us to make sure
Yeah,
this
it's still on you.
deal
You
goes
got to take
through.
extreme ownership, and you have to make sure, if it's to be, it's up to me, and I'm going to get this shit done.
Yeah, and don't forget about your sellers at this point too.
Yeah.
Just because you have the buyer, make sure you're keeping up with the sellers. Be like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, are you going to be, if they're still living in the house, like, we want to make sure we're on track for you to move out this time. We want to make sure title's going smoothly. Like, is everything good on your end? Because you don't want them to, start freaking out. And
Yeah, and you just want to keep them updated too, just to keep that rapport
exactly.
going, keep them updated, keep sure you're still talking, keep them in the loop. And the big thing one thing we didn't really cover was what actually happens if they do want to see the house, because 9 times out of
Oh
10,
yeah.
they do want to see the house. So really just making sure you're letting the seller know, hey, either my business partner or however it's set up, if we have a partner out there, boots on the ground, or if we just have someone going out there, we know this person's already qualified buyer going to move forward. Hey, my business partner, I'm going to have contractors or whoever it is come to the house at this time. If it's vacant, we always try to get it set up on a lockbox. We'll personally buy the lockbox. We'll pay someone to go out there and get it and put it on there. It's like $20 at Walmart. And then we'll do that, have that done the same time as that person takes pictures. So we can get the lockbox and the pictures banged out. So that way, when people go there, you know who has the lockbox key, you know who doesn't. So you don't have to physically be there. Now that most of our deals are virtual, it's a game changer just having that lockbox on there. But if they're not there, if they still live in the house and, it's just like, they're there, it's their house and they're living there until you sell, just make sure you communicate and let them know, hey, what times are you available? And then make sure you're coordinating that with the potential buyers and the seller for a time that works for everybody. And then just trying to get them all banged out at the same time. So that way you don't have the seller doing like basically, showing their house all the time to a bunch of different people. Because one of the main reasons that we find, because I always ask people, hey, why don't you work with a realtor? Why don't you just do this, the normal way that most people do, and say, hey, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want a bunch of people coming to my house. It's one of the things we hear a bunch of times. I just want to sell it and be done. So we really try to make sure we bang those all out in one day we can, one afternoon, or however we can.
Ideally, we don't ever want like more than 3 people going to see the house. Like, we should have 3. If we have 3 vetted buyers, that's amazing. But we should make sure before they go and physically see the house, I've like asked them, hey, are you good at these numbers? Have you run the comps? Just the last step is to see the house, and we'd love for you to go see the house and do a walkthrough. But I need to make sure that we're all good before we start that, because I don't want to waste the seller's time if we can't agree on the price.
Right, exactly, and that's really it. And then when I was worried too, I don't want to waste your time or the sellers.
Right.
Just always be
Yeah.
appreciative. Like, obviously, I'm sure you don't want to go out there and do that. And a lot of people on both sides, on both disposition and acquisition, they're afraid to ask the hard questions because they don't want to burn the deal. But you don't have a deal. I mean, if you're not afraid to ask those questions, you don't have a deal. So it's always better to ask the hard questions. You ask, hey, are you going to be able to move forward? Do you have the cash? You're the one providing a fucking great deal for them. They're not doing a favor for you by buying this. You're doing a favor for them by providing them an exclusive off-market deal that they can't get from anyone else.
Right. And think of it as this too, like, we're working for the seller here. Like, it's our job to find a vetted buyer to make this transaction go smoothly. So that's our job, is to actually find the buyer that's going to make this whole transaction go easy. I want to make sure I ask them, like, do you have cash to close? Are we using a hard money loan? And thankfully, we've used hard money loans before, so we are very aware of how long it takes for hard money loans. Some people are
Right. So
like,
you can't
oh,
bullshit
they
us.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, they need a hard money loan. It's going to take us, 3 to 4 weeks to close. And I'm like, no,
Yeah, bro, I'll get you my guy. Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. Like, no, we have a hard money lender you can use. It shouldn't take more than 14 days ever to get a hard money loan.
right. And that's the thing. And then just being communication, talking to them. And then again,
Exactly.
obviously we 100% we're seller focused. We want to make sure the seller's getting taken care of. We'll take less money on the assignment fee to get a buyer that's actually going to close, that's actually going to do it, that's going to make the process easy and painless. So we can, one, make sure the seller is taken care of is our primary concern. And two, make sure we can move on to the next deal, less stress, less headaches, and less time. Because finding the wrong buyer is going to waste so much time of your energy, your employees' energy, titles. You're going to piss title off. You're going to piss the seller off. You're going to piss your team members off. You're going to piss yourself off as you're wasting time. So just finding the right buyers is super important. And obviously, obviously we're sellers first, but we also want to make sure our buyers we do the numbers right. We want to make sure they're happy. We want to, again, partnerships. I want to make sure I have similar core values to my buyers, and I want to be a win-win-win for everyone. So I want it to be a win for the
Exactly.
seller. I want whatever they want to happen, whatever issues I want them to be solved. I want to be a win for the number two, the buyer. I want them to be able to make money and hit their numbers, and I don't never want them to lose money. I want to make sure it's a great deal for them because I want to build a relationship where once you have solid buyers, you don't have to do all these steps. You don't have to have your VA pull list. You don't have to call these people. You don't have to text them. You can go, hey, I got this guy. I already did a deal with him. I know he's solid. He came through. And it's just one phone call doing the dispo process. And as opposed to having to do all this whole process that we went over today every single time. So you really want to get those good buyers that are going to come through and make sure you're doing right by them by getting them good deals and not misleading them and, actually telling them, if you don't know something, you don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what the rehab costs are. There's an estimate I have based on what the seller told me. Well, if you're worried, you should go there and see it yourself. And just
Right.
really just being upfront and then just not trying to fudge the numbers or anything, just being really transparent in that flyer. If it's not a deal, it's not a deal. We move on to the next one and, or renegotiate the seller, whatever you have to do. But, just really just be upfront with your buyers, be honest. I mean, this is real estate, really all business. It's all about relationships.
I think it's a speed game too. In the beginning, because you want to find out, like, hey, here's where I have these numbers at. I sent it to I used all these resources, and I still didn't find anybody within the first week or two. That's usually when I go to you and be like, hey, the feedback I'm getting is that this house is priced too high. I can't find a buyer, and then we have to go renegotiate, which has happened before.
Yeah, 100%. It happened more when we first started. It
It
happened
did,
more
yeah,
when we
because we
weren't as
weren't great at
confident
it.
running the
It
numbers.
took us time.
We're using, I mean, yeah, you're going to run into obstacles when you first start. You're going to make mistakes, and that's how you learn. You can't be afraid to make mistakes. And we were using a wrong calculator that we got from someone. I bought a course when I first started, and using that calculator just made no fucking sense. Our numbers were all messed up. We looked like idiots. We had to renegotiate, and we lost a lot of deals that way. I think we only lost a couple. We were able to renegotiate most of them because they weren't too far off. But it's just awful having to do that. I hate having to make that call. I hate not doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. It's a huge violation of my core values and trying to renegotiate. I think we're trying to do it the whole time and you're fucking them over. And I never want to do that. So I just make sure you take the time, do the numbers the right way and the way we show you in our Facebook group. But it's a huge learning process for sure.
Yeah, I think if you are getting that feedback over and over and over again from your buyers, most likely there is a numbers problem, and maybe the comps. The other thing for us, like, we aren't living in these areas for us, so I don't know the area super well when we're running these comps. So they may know something that I don't too. So you can always ask your buyers, like, oh, hey, where'd you come up with that number? Why are you so much lower than we are? And a lot of times they'll just tell you, like, oh yeah, I know that area. I've seen that house before, something like that.
Right. And another big thing too with the buyers. So a lot of times, I think people try to put it super high because they're worried people are going to renegotiate with them. So they'll put the numbers up super high and be like, haha, I came to a deal and we did this and I did that and we met at the price I wanted all along. I don't really do that. I might raise it like a little bit higher where I think it's worth. And I don't really renegotiate with people. Say this is a number. And really all it takes is no. A strong no. You don't have to give a reason. I had the last deal we did with the guy. It was great. He ended up being a great buyer. It was super smooth transaction. But when we first started, he tried to lowball me a shitload. And he's like, oh, I can do this number. And I said, no. And that's it. And he came back and said, oh, what if we partner on this and do that? And I said, no. I only want to wholesale it. And just being very direct and straightforward. Because, no is a powerful word. It's all you need to say. And eventually he came up to the, I gave him oh my God, what's the best you can do? We kept going back and forth. So be prepared to negotiate, but don't feel like you have to raise it super high. And we ended up coming in a little bit less than I wanted to be at, but it still was a great deal for me where I wanted to be. And I did just get the deal done because I could tell he was a real buyer.
Right. Yeah. People are always like, oh, well, I'm going to put, my wholesale P at, $25,000. I want to be at, like $18,000 when people negotiate. But if the numbers are already there, you shouldn't really have to negotiate. Like if you have it exactly where, that 70% ARV with repairs and everything, if your numbers make sense, you shouldn't have to negotiate too much.
Right. So I see a lot of people do that. Like they might even have a deal and they're gonna like, I'm gonna try to hit a fucking grand slam and put the numbers up super high and then hope people come down. If you're putting the numbers up that high in the beginning, people are gonna look one at your look at your email or however you message them or your flyer, and they're gonna fucking get out of it. They're gonna close out of it and they're probably gonna put you in spam and never look at your deals again. If I get a deal that's like super fucking crazy that makes no sense numbers wise, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. I'm not going to waste my time looking at these deals because it's time consuming. Looking at being like as a buyer, it's time consuming looking at these deals that aren't deals. And so I only want people sending me deals that are deals. So it's better to hit singles, hit a deal where you're making 5, 10K for your first couple ones, 20K, our average is 20K now. So we're really there. We're happy and we're making sure we negotiate that. Our numbers are right, but you don't need to hit a grand slam every time. Don't get greedy. Again, it's about relationships. You want everybody to win. So think of yourself first. So seller first, buyer second, make sure they're both taken care of before you worry about yourself and how much money you're making.
For sure. Definitely.
But awesome. You guys have some great questions. Anybody has any questions, let us know. So that's pretty much our process. So really the last thing we do. So we went through how to start finding buyers. We went through our process, everything we do. Worst case scenario, we're in a brand new market. We don't have any deals. Now that we have our systems in place, we haven't been running into as really as much at all now. But what we were running into before is because we didn't have it all dialed in like what we shared with you guys today, is we do that, we wouldn't find a buyer, or we didn't have enough time, we wouldn't find a buyer. So what we would do then is we would start looking for people to JV with. So if nothing else works, again, don't be afraid to JV. Like we talked about before, some money's better than no money. So JVing is great. You're going to learn the ropes from there. So, if nothing else works, and find good JV partners. I don't recommend personally doing non-exclusive agreements with people. I've gotten burned by that. Fucking dog's barking.
Sorry. He scared himself awake.
Super loud in my ear. But yeah, don't recommend doing non-exclusive JV agreement, especially if you don't know them, because I've gotten burned by that. Somebody recommended a buyer to me out of state, and I signed an exclusive agreement with them, and they didn't do shit, didn't market the deal, and were just awful to work with. So I mean, they find a buyer, great. Let's sign it.
And you did one where you signed an exclusive deal, and we found the buyer, and we still had to pay them half.
Right. Yeah, because I signed. Yeah, so just make sure again, sign your agreements. Yeah, I didn't think I paid them half. They had to pay them something that they had in there. Just a weird one.
Like a small fee.
Yeah, I think it was like it was like a G though. It was like size money for them doing absolutely nothing. So
yeah, I don't think we made very much on that deal anyway. So
no, well, we would have, but we didn't start marketing it because we thought the JV partners are just going to handle it because we got referred to them by somebody. Yep. But yeah, just again, vet everybody. Communication's key. So again, quick breakdown of the steps. Do you want to run through again what we do when we get a deal, just in the simple steps?
Of course. So step 1 is to rerun your numbers and find solid comps that are very recent and very similar to your house on PropStream, or I use RPR for your license. Step 2 is to create your flyer in Canva or whatever you use to create something that's eye-catching, that has all your photos. Step 3 is to create your drive where you have all of your pictures, and I even put our blacked out contract in there. I'll put a contract, but I'll black out the seller's name, and I'll black out how much we bought it for, just so they can see the terms of the original contract that they're signing for. And then after that, I will pull prop streams and find cash buyers who have bought more than 3 properties in the last year in the major city closest to the property. I'll have our VA go through and run, try to find all those people's phone numbers, and I'll text blast them and email them. If I don't get any bites there, I will also go through Facebook, join all of the groups. I'll post in there looking for investors, and I'll also pull all the emails from there and send them the deal that way. Step 4 or 5, I've lost the number where we are. I will reach out to the title company and see if they have any buyers that are looking for, if they have any recent people that have purchased in cash, or any investors that they're working with that are interested in buying more properties, as well as hard money lenders. And then if all of those don't work within the first week or 2, I will reach out to some JV partners and see if they can help me blast out the deal as well. But I think that is pretty much our process.
Yeah, exactly. And then one thing I thought of when you were saying that too, again, trust but verify everything. I just think all the times we've been burned doing dispo. Make sure you actually check with title that they got the earnest money. Don't just trust that
Ooh,
someone said,
yes.
"Oh, I sent the earnest money." I'm like, "Oh, cool, we're good to go," and they all happy,
I've done this
sharing,
a few
going
times.
to eat, grabbing drinks, and yeah, and like then call tell a couple days later when I first started, call tell a couple days later. I'm like, "Oh, I just wanted to something in the back of my head told me to check. Did you guys get that earnest money? We good?" Like, "Oh no, we never got the earnest money."
Title
And
will
it's
always
like,
send you a receipt if they earnest money, by the way.
mhm.
They should at
Yeah,
least.
there's at least an email or something saying they got it. There some title companies do things a little differently,
That's true.
but yeah, no, they'll usually send you something. And if you don't get anything, make sure you check. Sometimes it does get there till the next day if they sent the wire later. But always make sure if you have the contract using the one that I use, it's in the group. Make sure you're giving them that one business day and making sure the money's actually there before you count your chickens before they're hatched.
Ooh, one other thing on top of that, don't let the buyers beat you up over the earnest money. If they're going to pay cash for a $300,000 house, $5,000 is not that much money. $10,000 is not that much money. If they do not have that much money in cash, that is a red flag.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't tell them what my wholesale fee is. Yeah, they're trying to get how
You
much are
have
you
to.
making off this? Fuck you. You don't need to know. You don't tell them
It
fuck you at the
doesn't
beginning,
matter.
but think that like, oh, they're just trying to beat you up and they're trying to just get you to basically give it away, or they don't think. Good question to ask them is, hey, Mr. Buyer, are you okay with me making money off this deal? I spend a lot of time and energy on marketing, and making calls, doing all the things we do to get these deals. Are you okay with me making money on this deal? And if they're like, oh, yeah, like only this amount or whatever, like, oh, click buy. Like, because like they shouldn't care. As long as they're making money, they're happy, they're hitting their numbers. It doesn't matter what the wholesaler's making. Like, unless you're JVing with someone, that's the only time I tell someone, what you're making, or after the fact, they already signed the money and then they have everything's with title, and then you can tell them what you're making. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't just go ahead and just like pre-disclose that for no reason. They're just going to
For
use that
sure.
to try to get you to go lower.
Definitely. All right. So two more things before we end this call, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Uh, I was gonna say
I mind.
the market, there's plenty of investors out there right now. Don't let people scare you and say there's not as many buyers as there was, this many years ago, or last year nobody's buying properties because the market's crazy.
I don't
I've
know.
heard that so much from
The
JVs
news told
already.
me I should hide like in my house and not go outside or
Yeah,
do
so I'm
anything.
hearing that all over the place. There, people are still buying properties. People are always going to be buying properties. As long as you get them at the right amount, you're going to find an investor.
Right. Yeah. Wholesaling's not fucking dead. No matter what the gurus are
It's
telling you. Yeah. People are always buying. Buyers always buy. More money's made in a down market than any other time. Yeah. The investors, a lot of people have just been waiting and saving up cash for this time to start doing deals. So the buyers are out there. You just got to do the work and find them, JV with people, whatever you got to do. But don't let not being able to find a buyer, being worried about not being able to find a buyer, stop you from taking action and starting your wholesaling business.
definitely 100%.
What was your other
And
thing?
then the last thing I want to end on is we do JV with people. So if you guys have a deal that you're struggling to move, I would love for you guys to reach out to me. And we actually have a website that you can plug the deal right in and it goes right to my email. It's deals.webuysadhouses.com.
So deals, DEALS at webuysadhouses.com. We'll
Dot
drop that.
webuysadhouses.com.
Yeah, dot. All right. So yeah, I'll drop the actual one since I messed it up. I'll drop it in the comments and I'll put it there in the group in case anybody wants to partner with us and JV and do some deals together. And not only will JV with you, we'll walk you through step by step for the process. We'll show you exactly what it is so you can start doing them on your own. Or if you want to JV, we're happy to partner with you. But we'll also teach you how to do it so you don't have to, and you can start doing it yourself if you want.
Right. If you guys have any questions about PropStream or how I pull those cash buyers lists, definitely feel free to reach out to me and I can do a screen share with you and show you exactly what I'm doing.
100%. But yeah, appreciate everybody hopping on. You guys have asked some great questions. We'll hang out for another minute or two if anyone has any final questions. But yeah, I think it's a good call. If you guys get any good info from this, if so, you just drop a thumbs up or an emoji or something to comment.
I thought it was good.
I thought so. I had fun doing it. We'll have to do
Me too.
more of
No,
these.
we need to do more lives together. It's fun.
All right. It's funny. We're in the same house. And
I know I can hear you echoing and it's kind of weird, but
yeah,
it's still funny. I know we're delayed for them too, so it's I feel like it's a weird thing, but it's fun.
But yeah, I had fun. So do some more, try to think some more to do we can do together. But all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody hopping on. As always, if you guys have anything at all, reach out. We're more than happy to help and share everything we're doing. We're open books. But yeah, keep crushing it. Get after the day and keep killing it one day at a time.
Thank you. Bye, guys.